Okay, let's go. Another game. It's the final of the Chess Olympiad 2024. On first board, Gukesh for India and Caruana for the United States of America. And they're playing Catalan, an opening that I know quite well. And here Fabiano plays an interesting move order here. I haven't seen it so much, but it become a little bit like a Shigorin actually. So basically white delays, well, black often plays like this first and then he does different kind of moves, but instead he plays the knight first. And here is quite clear that if white, for example, does this, then he will play something like this and defend the pawn. So white could have played like this, would have been a normal move, but I guess Fabiano would have prepared this knight move here, which is a bit annoying. So let's see what the computer thinks. Computer thinks the queen here, and it forces trade here, and apparently this is probably what Fabiano Caruana and his Stockfish 17 had analyzed. This looks already quite okay, completely equal here. Fine for black. So I guess Gukesh realized this. So then if he wants to defend this pawn, he can't do it with the queen. He has to do it maybe with the knight. And then I'm just guessing, maybe something like this. Computer doesn't like that. So it would have been interesting to see what Fabiano had planned on knight bd2 here. Okay, but white decided to take here, and now it becomes a bit of an... It becomes more like a Queen's Gambit declined or a Shigorin or something like that than a Catalan. So interestingly, he checks here. He could just have recaptured, but he did that. And then he took like that. Being surprised with an unusual opening, Gukesh makes a practical decision here. This bishop is a potential problem piece for white. Like if it goes here, black can chase it sometimes. If when white play e3, it could get a little bit trapped, and if it's just going here, it's it's inside of the pawn chain. So he makes a practical decision here. The computer, it's not the computer's top choice, but he basically goes here and then just take here. No, he doesn't have to worry about that bishop that can become bad in some situations. And here, interestingly, I guess it must be still be theory for Fabiano. He decides to take that knight. I guess next move is for white is going here and then take back with the queen. So he decides to take at once, but also something like this would also be fine, of course. But I guess he might be worried about this move here. Like this is met with this one, and there is some potential here for white to advance on the king side. And if he takes here, then this is also fine for black apparently, but it's a little bit it's computer thinks this is fine for black, but he hasn't cast. It sometimes could be a little bit dangerous maybe. But it looks fine for black. But anyway, Fabiano decided to take there, and I'm sure this is probably still theory, because Fabiano has a lot of like weak grandmasters who are living in St. Louis and analyzing his openings. Like there is one who he makes podcasts with, Fabiano Krilla, who does that for a living, I guess. I think handling Fabi's preparation. So Fabiano castles, that's normal, and he goes here. I guess the plan is to maybe play play e4 anyway. I can get a little bit more active here. So knight, he played knight e7, bishop e6 is also normal, but he played like that. And yeah, white is losing a bit of a tempo here. Plays e3 first, but then later he plays e4, so I guess this was his plan. And here Fabiano makes an interesting move. The computer doesn't like it. The normal way to play here would be to take and not allow e5. Something like this. The computer thinks this looks relatively safe. White has potential for some play here, but yeah, the computer is not so worried. Maybe black can play c6, and yeah, it's computer thinks this is relatively equal. But instead he plays this move, and he might have missed or underestimated the strong move that Gukesh made now. He put the queen here, and the point is, of course, that he can't take now because there is like this tactic here winning a piece. So it's a strong move, very strong move here. So black decides to do b6. If he defended here with the rook, white would just take here. So he decides to defend like that. And now apparently it's not so good for there is at least no hurry for white to take, because yeah, black still cannot take. And here black is winning back the pawn. So he makes a normal move. And here he takes on c5. I think that's interesting. There was always the possibility to like advance and try to do something here, but black's pieces are well placed to play on the king side. So probably that's not the correct plan. But yeah, still e5 was interesting to put it in, but he didn't. He took here, and here also Fabiano makes an interesting. He placed a d4 here instead of like normal used to take back here. Then I guess he would have planned to do something like that. Maybe take here. So white has won a pawn, but black's pieces are active here, so the computer doesn't think that this is anything at all for white. Should become a draw here. So, but he makes d4 here instead. A bit interesting move. And here also white also makes an interesting move. Normal here would probably be to take here. Then maybe go here because it was threatened. Maybe take here. This is the computer variation. White has won a pawn, but yeah, the bishop is here. It's a pawn on the king side, and this pawn is weak. There is good chances for black that he will win this pawn. So also this computer also feels this is fine for black. But instead he played c4, and black played that. It threatens knight on b3, so white has to defend it, and then it took like this. So now now the position is relatively equal. Black has a strong passed pawn on d4, but white has the potential to move his pawns here, which he will do now as compensation. Which also makes that this pawn might get lost. It will get lost if I remember correctly here soon. So, but black doesn't lose it at once because he can play like this and then go in with the queen here, which make it so, like for example, if he moves the knight somewhere, black can take here. So black also wins a pawn. So black doesn't lose a pawn here because of tactics. So instead, white decided to take the bishop. He has to take here, and take, and now he won that pawn. So after all, white won a pawn, but black managed to get some trades, and now soon Fabiano starts losing. He start losing like the track what's important. Like if black could do a couple of moves here, put the king here maybe on h8, and then it's very important that they place the knight here and here, because it has an excellent blockading square here on e5. Then black is not better at all. It's not worse at all, because this bishop is it's a bad bishop then if the pawn is still here. So he makes normal move here, going back with the king. Gukesh plays like that. Looks okay. And he plays. So black has to be exact. He has to do that to prepare knight g6 next. And of course, white prevents that here. And you can see it's critical here. Black has only one move. He has to go with the pawn here to create counterplay, because white might be threatening to go here. So let's see. He played here. So for example, if white go here, then he can check here, and when he loses this, but he will get a new queen, so he will be winning here as compensation. So white does that instead to defend here. So safest for black here would probably be to play here, queen. Like if it takes here, it's a draw at once because of lots of checks here. Probably even a perpetual check, maybe. And if it takes like this, it's something like this. So white has two extra pawns, but it's hard to keep both, and it's already threatening drawing checks here. If it was black's move here, he could make drawing checks by checking on this line, probably. Okay, and actually white can cover with the queen, but an endgame like this looks like there is good chances for draw here, at least for black. But also queen d3 is fine. And he plays this one. Takes here, it's fine. And I don't really understand this a4 move. It just looks like black just can't take it, because he's still covering this one. So this tactic is still fine for the tactic. Still is still fine for black. And there is nothing like this. There's nothing tactical for white here, because of course not here, because it will be checkmate, but he can go here, and it's drawing checks here. So I don't really understand why Fabi didn't just take that pawn, but this is also fine. But here now it was very important to do the right move. What he does now, it loses the game. When white the queen here of course defends, so now black was ready to move the knight, and he should have done that, of course. And next move here, and that position would just have been completely completely safe. Like he doesn't have he can take here, but he doesn't have to like use something. This is used maybe here. Like this is just like easy draw, but he underestimated like the importance of improving the knight to e5 here. So he plays the queen here, and it's already very bad because yeah, the queen gets to the wrong square where the knight wants to go, and it's just after this it's actually impossible for black to untangle anymore if white is precise. So as you can see, white's already winning. So he tries this one, but it's just a waste of a move because of h4. And still, because of the unfortunate, like you could never like go here because you will always lose the queen. So this maneuver that you want to do cannot be done. So he tries this one, but it's already too late here, of course. So he managed to trade queens, but now white is 2 pawns up, and the bishop is of course stronger than the knight. So it's easy win for white here, and Fabiano doesn't even bother to try because I don't know, probably unhappy because yeah, because something like this was like very safe draw, like. But it was good, of course, for Gukesh in India, and India won a tournament, and they won against the United States. And actually, India is now the strongest chess nation in the world. Historically, it has always been Russia or the Soviet Union, because of Russia's war against Ukraine, a lot of the best chess players, basically all Russian chess players who can afford to move abroad, and that is like chess players who is just rated maybe 2600 and above. Then you make enough money to live good on chess. So all of them has moved from Russia. So Russia didn't even have a team in the Olympiad because they're not allowed. But yeah, all their good players have left the country also, basically. So India is number 1. United States is number 2, and China is number 3 in chess right now. Okay, so next time we will look at the last game from the Olympiad. It's between Vladimir Fedoseev and Gukesh.